A student named Stephanie has been unable to sleep for some time. Every time she closes her eyes, she has the same dream about a girl named Iris, who dies along with 100 others in a high-rise restaurant. Remembering that her grandmother is also named Iris, Stephanie tries to figure out if her dreams are connected to her, and unexpectedly hits the mark. It turns out that Iris witnessed the tragedy in the high-rise restaurant many years ago and managed to prevent it, thereby disrupting Death's plans. But the Grim Reaper isn't one to give up its prey, and now Stephanie and her family are in the crosshairs. The Final Destination series is one of the cornerstones of modern horror, introducing the genre to elaborate, multi-stage death sequences and heavily playing on common phobias, from air travel and amusement park rides to logging trucks on highways. And though after the infamous out-of-control laser eye surgery scene in the 5th film, some viewers likely swore off vision correction altogether, Final Destination has always preached attentiveness, observation, and caution, qualities that are never irrelevant. The first installment was released in 2000 and was a commercial success, a feat repeated by the second and third films. The fourth entry, shot in the then popular 3D format, set a box office record, grossing over $180 million worldwide against a $40 million budget. Unfortunately, it ended up being the weakest in the series, so the 5th film underperformed, seemingly wrapping up the franchise, especially since its writers cleverly looped its story back to the very first movie. Of course, Final Destination was never officially canceled. After all, even the least commercially successful 5th film earned nearly 4 times its budget. But it was clear the horse had been run into the ground and needed, if not a reboot, at least a long break. News occasionally surfaced that the creators were exploring a fresh approach, but in reality, the 6th film arrived a full 14 years after the last one, and it didn't offer any major reboot or reinvention. That didn't stop Final Destination, Bloodlines, from earning as much in its opening weekend as the original did in its entire theatrical run, ultimately setting yet another box office record. Was it deserved? Surprisingly, yes, more than so. The new writing and directing team, on one hand, perfectly internalized the franchise's classic rules, and on the other, well, that's about it. Bloodlines doesn't bring anything fundamentally new, not in its plot, structure, or technical execution, yet the franchise somehow feels refreshed and revitalized. Turns out, you don't always need to toss out the old and replace it with something new. Sometimes, you can just reassemble it using the same parts and techniques, but with a fresh perspective and the creative dial cranked up to the max. To be fair, Bloodlines isn't without its flaws. Even ignoring the fact that we've essentially seen this 5 times before, the script has logical inconsistencies and plot holes. Most notably, the baffling assumption that the protagonist's relatives, who aren't directly targeted by death, suddenly and inexplicably fade into the background despite knowing their loved ones are in danger. But these are minor quibbles compared to the fact that Bloodlines is a fantastic horror flick for a fun night with friends, the kind where you all jump in unison, gasp at the gnarliest moments, and eagerly debate who'll die next and how. It's a gripping, gory, and, if you don't mind dark humor, hilarious slasher with an invisible killer. In other words, Final Destination at its best.